I'm sure a lot of you guys know about the TikTok trend where girlfriends ask their boyfriends how often they think about the Roman Empire, and the boyfriends are like,
It's technically like every day.
Maybe 3 or 4 times a month.
Like every other day, maybe.
I am the boyfriend in that situation, and I think about ancient Rome more than I should. So in today's video, I'm gonna make my ancestors proud, and I'm gonna be eating like they used to in ancient Rome for 24 hours. I got this video idea because I always romanticize living in ancient Rome. Just something about their lifestyle seems so fascinating. Well, except for all the brutal killings, the crazy emperors, the plague, food shortages, and slavery. I'm talking about the slow community life, the beautiful architecture, the way they used to dress. But food is probably one of the most important things to me in life, and I want to see if I would actually be able to live in a world where there's no sugar, tomatoes, pasta, coffee, chocolate, pretty much all of my favorite things and the things that define modern Italian cuisine. So without further ado, let's begin this video, and I hope you'll enjoy. While I was buying all the ingredients I needed for the day, I realized just how healthy the Romans used to eat. I literally felt like I was shopping for a diet. I don't know, I guess to me it's just hard to imagine a world where the sweetest thing they can eat is honey. After that, I went straight to my mom's restaurant because I'm gonna be using her kitchen, which she was not too happy about, and to be honest, she thought this video was the dumbest idea ever. So thank you, Mom, for always keeping me humble. And now it's time to prepare the first dish of the day. We're gonna have breakfast or ientaculum, and we're gonna start with pulse, which was a pottage. And this is why I'm doing the voiceover, and I'm not talking a lot in this video. First thing first, I'm trying the sheep milk because I've never had it before, and my mom kept telling me how disgusting it is because she had to milk sheep as a child and she said it smelled and tasted horrible. So while my mom starts a fire in the back, I'm starting to cook my pulse. So pulse was a type of porridge made from spelt, and it was a staple food in ancient Rome. And this is how you make it. First, I'm rinsing the spelt. And then I'm adding it to a pot with some water and salt and putting it to boil. Watch me as I master the art of cracking open some walnuts that I will need for later. And after the spelt is nice and soft, I'm adding the sheep milk to it and let it simmer some more. And now look at me, all delusional, thinking this was gonna taste good. No, yeah, grind the coriander, add all the spices that you want, pour all of your heart into this dish. Ah, you don't know what's to come, my dear Rosie from the past. This is where I think I went wrong. Apparently back in the day they used to add wine to their porridge, which is interesting to say the least because I've never had wine for breakfast, but I guess this is my life now. I'm gonna pair my beautiful breakfast with posca, a popular beverage made by mixing water with vinegar and honey. It is referred as the energy drink of the day, so I thought it would be a good substitute to coffee, but boy was I wrong. Okay, so aesthetically my breakfast looked amazing. Like I had very high hopes for this, but honestly it was so bad. Like there was not a good thing about this dish. I would give it a 0 out of 10, if not less. The sheep milk mixed with the wine created the worst flavor combination of all time. Like somehow even the fruit in contact with this porridge started to taste bad. Listen, I am not a picky eater, like I'll eat pretty much anything, but this I'm having trouble swallowing it. And then to make this meal even worse, it was time to try the posca. Posca just tasted like straight up vinegar. I thought the honey would make it sweeter, but no. And after just a couple of sips, the acidity in my stomach was so bad and I wanted to throw up. So needless to say, this is another 0 out of 10. Then of course I couldn't suffer alone, so... My stomach is really upset right now, but the show must go on. And We never know, we might find something that actually tastes good. For lunch, we're having libum, which were little cheesecakes that were often used as offerings to the Roman gods, and they were typically prepared for religious occasions and festivals. The ingredients are really simple. It's spelt flour, ricotta cheese, an egg, and bay leaves. In a bowl, simply combine flour, the egg, and the ricotta cheese, add a pinch of salt or a little more, and then mix well. Then you just have to use your hands to kind of shape the little cakes and add a bay leaf on top of each cake. Bake at 350 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes or until the cakes turn lightly golden, and then remove from the oven and drizzle honey on top of each libum. I am so excited! They look very beautiful, and maybe this is the chance for the Romans to redeem themselves. See, these I can eat. I don't feel like I'm gonna throw up eating these. Very cheesy, and the flour gives it a little bit of crunchiness, and the honey makes it perfect. I would say this is a solid 7 out of 10. See, for the gods, they put in the effort. After my quick lunch, it was time to start preparing the garum that I will need for dinner. Garum was a fermented fish sauce, and they would use it in ancient Rome as a condiment on pretty much everything, including desserts. Back in the day, they would just let the fish ferment with salt in the sun for like 2 months, but I didn't have time for that, so I found a more modern recipe for it, where I basically boiled the anchovies with a lot of salt. When the fish starts to fall apart, I had to pesto it and let the broth reduce for another 20 minutes. It stinks so bad in here, my mom's gonna kill me. While my garum is finishing cooking, I moved on to making bread so it can rise in time for my dinner. I'm using sourdough starter instead of yeast because in ancient Rome they did not use yeast. Instead, they would prepare their dough and leave it exposed to the environment where it would capture bacteria from the air and surroundings, which over time would allow the dough to ferment and develop a leavening effect. The process they used is somewhat similar to what we now call sourdough bread making. I just opened the flour that I literally just bought from the store, and this is what I found. I don't know what it is. The recipe of the bread I'm making right now is based off this bread called panis quadratus, and this loaf of bread that you see was put in the oven by a baker in 79 AD, right before Pompeii's volcano eruption, which preserved the bread, and it was discovered 2,000 years later in 1862. Pretty crazy. So mind you, this was my first time making bread. I never had to make bread before in my life, and I was following this guy's video. He said to create kind of like a volcano with the flour and add the yeast water in the middle of this volcano. And I didn't go back to the video. I thought, okay, I guess I just start mixing the flour with the water now. Big mistake. Oh my god. So this just happened. I immediately cleaned everything because my mom was about to come back, and I moved on to the garum, which was ready to be strained by then. And let me tell you what a pleasure this was, especially as the fresh anchovy vapor would open up my airways. As I was doing that, my mom finally returned.
Secondo te si fa la fontanella così?
No, così, l'avevo fatta bene, ma dopo quando mi sono messa a impastare...
Devi fare finché raccoglie
Che cacchio
tutto.
ne so?
Che stai facendo?
Questa è la salsa che usavano sempre con le alici.
Ma stai sporcando tutta la cucina, Rosie, no? E quante alici hai usato?
1000 grammi.
Sì, ho capito, ma le versi tutte?
Così si fa. Here is our beautiful finished garum, and then thankfully my mom was able to fix the dough for the bread and put it to rise. After that, I decided to make myself a little afternoon snack, and I'm making moretum, a ricotta cheese and herb spread. After chopping all my herbs and mincing the garlic, I added them all to a mortar along with olive oil, red wine vinegar, and ricotta cheese. Then I blend the mixture until everything is well combined, and then I turn around and the employees were trying the libum that I made earlier. Not much.
No, bune. Știi cine a adus aminte? Nu, serios. Făcea bunica mea turte
Da.
cu făină sură, dar le coșești, nu le făcea pe taval, le coșe pe plita asta de foc. Dacă fix același gust au.
Ei, da.
Mă, acelea erau negri.
Da?
Da, te rog, juro. Ia, ți uiți, mi-i zurt ca păr. Mi-am adus aminte. Foarte bune, bune.
I love how they were telling my mom about it and she was not impressed because she thought the libum didn't taste that good. Back to the moretum, I'm seasoning it with salt and pepper and then it's ready to eat. I was gonna eat it with the bread recipe from 2000 years ago, but my dough is still rising, so I underestimated how long it would take. So we're gonna eat it with regular Italian bread. Very nice. This is an 8 out of 10. I'm gonna try with the Libium. While my mom was working on the bread, I realized I did not have dessert with my lunch. And I don't know about the Romans, but that is not okay in my world. So I'm making myself a traditional ancient Rome dessert called dulce domestica. And it's very simple to make. First, crush some walnuts and then ask your mom for a knife to pit the dates.
Dammi un coltellino piccolo. Devo snocciolare quello. Dammi qua. Scusa. Però.
No, perché le devo farcire, le rotte, quello sapevo farlo anch'io. Levati. After pitting all the dates, it's time to stuff them with the crushed walnuts that I prepared earlier. Then I'm adding some honey to a pan and putting it on the heat where I'm gonna add all the dates and cook them until they're golden. I love dates, so this was a 10 out of 10 for me. Okay, so I used ChatGPT to make the menu for the entire day, and when I looked at the dinner, it gave me the recipe to prepare stuffed dormouse, which apparently it was a delicacy in ancient Rome, and my first reaction was Googling what is a dormouse. And at first I was like, oh my god, it's so cute! And right after I'm like, okay, where can I buy dormouse meat in Italy for this video? And turns out you can't. It's illegal in Italy to eat dormice because it's a protected species, even though in the south of Italy, the mafia is still hunting them and eating them. And according to investigations, the mafia people serve dormice at their banquets when agreements must be reached or peace pacts between clans must be made. Anyways, the only legal way for me to eat dormice was to go to either Slovenia or Croatia, which are the only two countries in Europe where it's still legal to eat dormice and it's actually a traditional dish there. And I was gonna plan a trip to Slovenia. That's how dedicated I was to this video, but it didn't work out because of time constraints. So I asked ChatGPT what the most similar meat to a dormouse would be, and it told me rabbit. So if you know me, you know that I'm a bunny mom, and bunnies are my favorite animal. And even though I used to eat rabbit for most of my life before I owned a rabbit, because it's very traditional to eat rabbit in Italy, after I bought my bunnies, I always feel guilty when eating rabbit, so I tend to avoid it. But I made an exception for this video. And thankfully, my rabbit doesn't have YouTube, so she will never know. While the rabbit was baking, it was time to prepare the final dish of the day, which is a dessert called pear patina. With a smile on her face, my mom started helping me cutting up the pears because she thought I was too slow and she wanted me out of her kitchen. We put the cut up pears to boil with some white wine, and while they're boiling, we're prepping the ingredients we will need for later. When the pears are soft, we're crushing them into a puree, adding all the ingredients we prepped earlier along with some other condiments.
E il vino.
Cosa devo fare?
Metti le uova. Basta, basta.
E
Aspetta, aspetta. 2 cucchiai di questo. And then they are ready to be baked for around 20 minutes at 350 degrees. At this point, the rabbit was almost ready and my mom was putting the bread she prepared earlier in the oven. Sì? And just like that, dinner is served.
Pinoli, macinato. Prova.
Quando si può assaggiare?
Sì, ma no, là ce n'è un sacco là. Il pane si può mangiare. Anche il pane non è male, coniglio è buono, Beh, i romani mangiavano il coniglio buono, dopo il resto faceva schifo. Molto buono.
The Romans would be so proud if only they could see me dipping my meat in the garum, which surprisingly didn't taste very fishy at all. It was more like salty water. And this meal was a 10 out of 10. This is the best meal of the day. And then it was time for the dessert. It looks really good. Just don't understand why they put garum, the fish sauce, even in the dessert, so I'm concerned that that's gonna make it taste weird. I'd give this dessert a 5 out of 10 because it was kind of boring and it mostly tasted like wine. And then my mom tried it as well. No? On our way back home, the radio started playing the Italian national anthem. And I thought it was very symbolic because this video made me understand that no, I wouldn't be able to survive in ancient Rome, and there is nothing I love more than modern day Italy. Also, I couldn't help but feel bad for the Romans that never got the chance to try a nice plate of spaghetti with a freshly made tomato sauce or a nice slice of tiramisu. Anyways, this video gets an award from myself as the most fun I've had filming a video for my YouTube. So thank you for watching until the end, and I will see you in my next one.